what is the difference from entrepreneurship perspective between B2C and B2B?
B2C is when you're selling to consumers directly and you're not selling to a business entity. If I was to sell a t-shirt to my friend, that's B2C. People come to your website and they buy from you. You're concerned with things like, what's your conversion rate on your website? How many people that come to your website actually end up making a purchase? And you're going to look at different metrics and return on your ad spend and stuff like that. And then B2B is when you're selling to businesses. And I personally think that's a little bit more fun and a little bit easier because I can just call somebody at a business and I can say, hey, I know a lot about your industry. Can I ask you a couple questions? Do you have this problem? Hey, I think I might be able to solve it for you. Is that something you're interested in?
I think B2C is more about marketing and B2B is more about sales.
Yeah, I think so.
What I like about B2B is it's a bit more difficult maybe to get a client, but the client can bring you so much more value than B2C on average. And you are probably closer to the client as well. You can talk with him.
Yeah. And it's because I'm trying to solve a problem and I'm trying to help them in their day-to-day operations. I want to get to know them and figure out what's working, what's not working. And so it's a closer relationship and you get to fix your product faster, you get feedback faster, and you get to see it affect the real world, or that's what's going to happen.
Would you generalize that B2B is better for first startups, or it's difficult to generalize for all kinds of businesses?
I think it might be easier to start up with less money in some situations for B2B. For example, if you're a programmer trying to sell a software as a service, then if you can find a very specific problem for a very specific type of business, you can get a list of phone numbers and figure out if they might buy it. And then you can solve the problem if you think they would buy it. If you're trying to sell physical products to lots of consumers, then you've probably got a little bit more startup costs with that. I'm sure it depends on what you're making. Or if you're making a software for the general population, I would imagine that's also pretty tricky because how are you going to get that many people onto it? That's not a problem that I've solved yet. I think it's a little less daunting when you're doing B2B, especially if you can quantify the return on investment. So if you say, hey, I'm going to sell you this software for $20 a month, but it's going to save you 10 hours of time, something like that, I think then it's a little bit easier to make the sale, I would imagine.
There are many things that you have to manage. And the more things you have to manage, the more problems you will have. It's easier in general to start with B2B, pure online. It's also easier to find some problem that B2B clients have. And then if you can save them a lot of money or time, then it shouldn't be that difficult. Of course, there is always this locked-in effect. So B2B clients, they also need to trust you because the bigger the lock-in effect, it means the more difficult it is for them to switch, to move away from you, the more trust they need in your business.